So earlier in the lecture about filtering, I told you that we don't have filtering by multiple properties in Firebase. And in that lecture, I showed you a technique for implementing this. So with this structure, anytime we add, update, or remove a restaurant, we should make a change in two places. Now, how can we ensure that these changes are atomic, which means they all are committed or none of them are committed? So in this lecture, I'm going to show you how to implement this. Let's imagine we want to add a new restaurant, and we want to add it in two places. Once under /restaurants, and also under restaurants by city /Camberwell. Let's imagine this restaurant is in the city of Camberwell. So first we add a new restaurant. This .angularfire.database.list/restaurants. I'm going to push a very simple object here. So imagine our restaurant has 10 properties. I'm not going to add them all here. I just want to add one single property, like name. And even the value doesn't matter. So that's why I've set this to an empty string. You could set it to true. It doesn't really matter because we're going to change this in a second. So we push this new object under restaurants. Now, as you remember, this push method returns a promise. So we call then x goes to code block. Now here we can get the key of this new object using x.key. And with this, I'm going to update multiple nodes in Firebase altogether. First, I'm going to create an object called update, which represents the nodes we're going to update and their values. Now, in JavaScript and TypeScript, there are two ways to access a property of an object. We can use the dot notation, for example, update dot first name equals whatever. That's one syntax. The other syntax is using the indexer. So update brackets, the name of the property, like first name, and here we set the value. Now, in this example, I'm going to use the second syntax because the name of the property we're going to set here includes a slash, because that's the location of a node in Firebase. So the first location is restaurants slash, and then I want to add the key of this new object here. Now let's remove this. So this is our first update. With this reference, a node under restaurants. And for the value, I'm going to set the actual restaurant object. So here we could have name, let's say my new restaurant. We could have 10 other properties, but it doesn't really matter. Now we're going to have a second update. Update restaurants by city. And let's say this restaurant is in the city of Camberwell. So I'm going to add that here. And under this node, I'm going to have a new node, which is a simple key value pair. The key is x.key, and the value is true. So I'm simply storing the ID or key of this new restaurant here. And with this, we need nested observables to read these restaurant objects. Or you may decide to store the actual restaurant object here as well. So we could have name, my new restaurant, and those 10 other properties. Now with this implementation, it makes sense to declare this restaurant in one place. So this is my new restaurant, one object here, and then I'm going to put it in two different places. Once under restaurants, and also under restaurants by city. So this update object represents multiple updates. And finally, this, that AngularFire, that database, that object, I reference the root object, and I'm going to update it using this update object. Let's look at the result. When this code is executed, we get a new restaurant object here. It has a name property, could have 10 other properties. Also, we have restaurants by city, Camberwell, and we have another copy of that restaurant object here. Now, if you want to delete a restaurant, we need to delete it from two places. In that case, we set this value to null. And that would remove the objects at these locations.